I would think so, although there's a lot of, let's see, there's Deb Stone, John Yonan.
Is there any way we can print that? The attendees?
Who's
attendees?
Oh, you know what, Cheryl, I'm gonna do a roll call.
Okay.
And I have a list, so I'll write down and get it to you.
Okay, great.
Okay, yeah, Howard, it looks like there's a lot of people.
It certainly does. So good morning, everybody. Can we all please go on mute? I'll be the only one unmuted for the moment. We're obviously now on the record, as we heard. And Cheryl, thank you again for taking the minutes. The very first thing we're going to do to make sure that we have a good attendance is for Irene to call the roll. And if you could, Irene, please.
Yeah. Just a reminder, if you're not on mute, please put yourself on mute. I do have control here, so if I can figure out who's making the noise at some point, I might just put you on mute. All right. Starting at the top, Howard Males.
Here.
Pam McDonough.
Here.
Erin Alaman or Simone Weil?
Here. Erin's here.
Great, thank you. Todd Kabamban?
Here, Todd is here.
Great. Teresa Cordova?
Teresa's here. Good morning.
Great. Brian Hacker, City Chicago. David Day. Christy De Laurentiis. Amelia.
I'm here.
Great. Kristen Faust. Manny Flores.
Here.
Sochi Flores is coming. She has another meeting, but she'll be here later. Bridget Gaynor, Shay Robinson, or Noreen Hashim?
Hey, it's Noreen from Commissioner Gaynor.
Great. Andy Gear.
Good morning, I'm here.
Great. Graham Grady.
Here.
Sharon Lagenza.
Here.
Daryl Newell. Karen Norrington Reeves or Phaedra Leslie. Rob Rose. Ed Sitter. Ed, I know you're here.
Yes, I'm here.
It's
Sorry, I
mute.
couldn't get off mute. I'm on.
Yes. David Shaves.
Here.
Tony Smith. Deb Stone.
Here.
Will Towns. Rob Tucker.
Good morning, Irene, I'm here.
Eric Varela. John Watson.
Will Towns is
John
here.
Yonan. Oh, Will Town, great.
And
John Yonan.
Here.
All right. We definitely have a quorum. And then there are many Bureau of Economic Development staff on the line, and I'm not sure if I can, let's see. So Andre Ashmore. Angela Macklin, part of Carl's team.
I'm here.
Aris Kotsioris.
I'm here.
Barb Malouf.
I'm here.
Dom Tosi.
Good morning.
Isabel Gonzalez.
I'm here.
Let's see. Michelle Kennedy.
I'm here.
Mohammed Elahi.
Good morning. Here.
Patricia Wilson.
I'm here.
And I see Rob Rose is here, right? Rob, you're here?
Yeah, I just joined. I'm here.
Yeah. Let's see. Cheryl Caldwell.
Here.
Susan Campbell.
Morning, everyone.
Vita Britt Handy.
Here.
And Victoria Moreno. Oh, she's not BED staff, but she's with Commissioner Anaya's office.
Here. Good morning.
All right. I think that should be everybody, except we also have Bernard Edelman, who's, I believe, affiliated with one of the projects.
Yes, ma'am.
That's correct.
All right.
Okay, thank you so much, Irene. If there's anyone whose name has not been called, let me know. You can interrupt, but I want to basically move on to the period of public comment. And so, given that sure.
Just one other kind of house rule is one, reminder that if you're not speaking, put yourself on mute. And two, feel free to use the chat box to ask questions or make comments. And there's also, if you look on your screen, for those that are using a screen, there's a little hand icon that you can use to indicate that you would like to make a comment or ask a question. If you click that, then Howard or I will make sure you're recognized.
Also, this meeting is recorded.
That's
yes,
true.
And we're being recorded.
Are we done with the announcements and
yes,
attendance?
sorry.
Then we're going to move on to a call to the public. This is a public meeting, and I want to make sure that if anyone is dialed in, that they have an opportunity to speak now. Well, thank you very much, everyone, for attending our EDAC meeting for July. I want to move on to the minutes as a very first order of business. Can we call for the approval of the minutes from June 17th? I will note that John Watson's name is listed twice. That would be one correction. Does anyone else have anything to add? I need the approval of the minutes. All those in favor of approving the minutes from June 17th, please signify by aye.
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 Don't we need motions and seconds, Howard?
You are right, Vice Chair. Thank you.
I move we approve the minutes.
Second, Bob Tucker.
Thank you, Bob. As amended because of the duplicate for John Watson. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Anyone opposed? The minutes are approved as amended. Thank you. We have a full agenda today, and I want to make sure that there are several items that are going to require our votes and approvals. I ask everyone to be attentive to the agenda time schedule as listed in the agenda that you have on the screen right now. Also, with respect to the meeting chat and nudging, I have only to ask your forgiveness at this point because sometimes I miss. I'm looking at a phone, I get texts, I get emails, and if I miss the order of things, Irene, I appreciate you just letting me know if we miss calling on anyone. And certainly, Pam, you're there as Vice Chair from the other pair of eyes. I will make sure that we get to you. And I see that Brian Hacker is here, and we're basically taking note of all this. So I want to just also thank all of the committee, the subcommittee chairs and the members for meeting on these items that are about to be presented. Your hard work makes our EDAC meetings much more productive. And as always, I'm very grateful under these new circumstances for you to step up and keep the EDAC moving forward. Thank you all. Very first order of business is going to be an action for the property at 3611 North Central Avenue. Cheryl, will you be presenting? And
I sure will
Pam,
be.
Okay, and so go ahead, and Pam, you'll be running this as it gets presented. Thank you.
No, probably. Will, were you at the meeting?
I was there.
All right, you should
Okay,
run it
Will.
then. Okay, thanks.
It's all yours, Will. Thank you.
Thank you. Cheryl?
Okay, good morning, everyone. This morning we have a Class 7B from Portage Park Capital LLC. The eligibility requirement is vacant. It's a vacant lot with the new construction. The property, as Howard stated, is located at 3611 North Central Avenue in Chicago. It is currently zoned as PD, a planned development, and the lot size is 37,702 square feet. The newly constructed 4-story building will be 122,000 square feet. The present value of the property tax incentive for the applicant is $3.7 million. The total project cost is $14.3. This is a private capital investment to present value of tax incentive of 3.8 to 1. The job creation, I'd like to take a moment and focus on this. This is the job creation is for the area that has been leased to Cube Smart Self Storage. They will have 4 new full-time jobs. The jobs include benefits, a retirement plan, a health and dental plan, paid time off, a 401k matching plan, tuition reimbursement, disability, and bonus pay. This question was asked at our subcommittee meeting, and Mr. Edelman was gracious enough to provide it for us. There's a 13,000 square feet that has yet to be leased, and we're estimating 18 full-time jobs to occupy that space. There will be 60 construction jobs on this project. And that's it. And Mr. Edelman, Bernard?
Yes, ma'am.
If there are any questions, Bernard Edelman is on the Zoom call to answer.
This is Will. If I can, just quickly, we had, I thought, a very thorough discussion on this particular project. We were informed that the site has been vacant for 16 years, I believe.
Yes.
And so this development is much needed given the current situation of things. They also did a fairly robust community engagement process where they talked with the community about what the needs were and what kind of retail and those sorts of things. So we're quite pleased with that as well. And we'll open it up again to any questions from the broader board. We had a full approval from the subcommittee with 1 abstention from the city representative. We'll now open it up to any questions from the broader EDAC committee.
Is someone talking?
Yeah, Andy Gear was talking. Sorry, Howard. I was just asking if this building was a mixed-use building, residential component too? Because to me, I see the building size is 122,000 square feet, and there's only 26,000 square feet that are potentially being leased.
So, Bernard, did you want to answer that, or you want me to answer it?
I could. Why don't you try it, Cheryl? Maybe you've got skill.
So currently, the Cube Smart Self Storage will be occupying 109 109,000 square feet of the property. The other 13,000 square feet will be leased to a commercial, for commercial use. I believe Bernard stated that the community would love a restaurant in that spot, but they are open to any commercial lease in that unit. Is that not correct, Bernard?
No, that's not only, that is correct, and let me just expand a little further. Chairman Alderman Villegas convened a community meeting. Prior to our ownership, the community actually rejected a residential, not once but twice on this site. It is challenged so that the 13,000 feet of retail is actually rather dramatic for that location and that neighborhood. So this conforms with not only the community presentation, but I think there are about 2,400 views of the community, and the aldermen continue to receive input, and the neighborhood is enthusiastic about this 13,000 feet of retail with self-storage above it.
Great, thanks for
It's
the
Howard.
clarification.
It's Howard Males. Bernard, thank you very much for this development. I wanted to make note to the EDEC members that in my recollection, and I am open to being corrected, we've done storage facility approvals before, but this may be the first mixed with some retail options where I have never seen this, I don't think. Please let me know if I'm incorrect, because we've done these types of storage facilities in the past.
Howard, there was one in Niles, Illinois that has retail on one of the self-storage facilities. That also went through our the EDEC.
Thank you so much, Robin.
I was curious about the prior residential proposals, whether or not they had included affordable housing. And
Are you asking me?
I guess whoever could speak to it, if anybody knows.
So this is Bernard Edelman. Those processes were prior to our ownership. I could guess. I just am reluctant to do that since this meeting is being recorded, and I was not personally involved in those meetings. But if you did want my guess on information, I believe I would be pleased to provide that to you.
Okay.
This is Will Towns. I would also state that this was a prior Dominic's food store site, so it has been a commercial site for an extended amount of time. Part of the site, I think, was redeveloped for a CVS, and then they had this chunk that had remained vacant for that 16 years.
Will, I don't see any questions coming up in the chat, so if we're, to move forward.
Yes, I believe we're ready. If there are no further questions, to take a motion to approve Portage Park Capital LLC's 3611 North Central Avenue 7B property tax incentive.
So moved by Tony Smith.
Seconded by Manny Flores.
All in favor? Any abstentions?
Yes, this is Brian.
This is Aaron from CMAP. Oh. CMAP's also going to abstain.
Cheryl, we've got the recording of the abstentions.
Yes.
Excellent. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Excellent. Motion passes.
Thank you very much. Congratulations, Mr.
Thank you.
Edelman, and to your team. And Will, thank you very much for shepherding that through. I want to move us on to our next action item, which is going to be, Andy, will you be presenting, or Sharon?
Sharon's going to take the lead. Yeah.
Yeah. Hi, good morning, everyone. This is Sharon Lagenza.
Good morning, Sharon.
The first project we have to present the full EDACT is the Broadview Senior Residence, which is seeking a $1.7 million home loan. And I believe, Carl, are you going to take this?
Actually, Sharon, Michelle Kennedy, who is our new finance manager, is going to take the lead on it. But we're here, though.
Okay, great. Michelle, are you here?
Yes, I'm here. Good morning. Broadview Senior Residences is the ground-up new construction of 70 affordable independent living units for people aged 55 years and older. It'll consist of one 3-story wood frame building with cement fiber siding and about 71,000 gross square feet. The unit mix is comprised of 53 one-bedroom units, or 76% of total, and the rest will be one-bedroom units. All units will be targeted to low and extremely low households, low-income households, earning up to 60% of AMI or 30% of AMI. The Housing Authority of Cook County will provide project-based Section 8 vouchers for 18 of the units, or just over 25% of total. The total construction cost is $20.9 million, or $300,000 per unit. The developer is the primary developer and property manager is Ross Financial Services, based in Northbrook. Ross manages, operates about 24. Hello?
Please, everyone, go on mute.
Yeah, I need everybody on mute. And the co-developer is the Housing Opportunity Development Corp. HODC is a CHDO that's completed 22 affordable housing developments, and its primary role in the development is to coordinate supportive services for tenants. The general contractor is Walsh. The $1.7 million home loan requested is equivalent to just over $24,000 per unit, and it's equivalent to 8.1% of the total construction costs. Other permanent sources include LIHTC equity from CREA and a $2.1 million permanent loan from Sinair. The permanent loan has been underwritten very conservatively with the pro forma 1.34 times DSCR, which means that, if rents are lower or expenses are higher, there's still enough of a gap there there's enough padding there to meet the 1.15 minimum debt service coverage ratio required for conversion. There also will be some IAHTC equity from US Bank of about $535,000 and a $266,000 energy subsidy grant from ComEd.
Michelle, can you just let me know what slide you're on? I'm trying to move the slides along and I've lost track.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just sort of read off of slide number 10, which is next. I guess I'm too fast.
Yeah. So just tell me when you want me to move forward. Thank you.
Okay. Well, that's the last slide in the presentation. So if there are any questions or comments, I'd like to open up the floor.
Hi, this is Graham Grady. I've got a couple of questions. Thank you. First, it's always great to see fresh, new affordable housing in our community, so I'm very excited about that. I had a question about the fact that this is a wood frame building, and I wanted to know if there's any commentary from either you or the developer with regard to the comparative cost of masonry, and also the fire resistive nature of this and the impact on utility bills, heat and energy, as compared to this proposed wood frame compared to if it were masonry.
Graham, can we get to any members of this team for Broadview to identify themselves if they're going to answer this question, Michelle?
As far as I know, I don't think there are any members from the development team on the call, but there are members of the development team on the call for Mustachi Manor, which is the next deal.
Mr. Chairman, this is Carl Barrett. Maybe we should talk about questions for Mr. Grady. So inside of affordable housing, we do various housing sites. Construction site generally is wood frame with a veneer clad. And that veneer is going to be either masonry or, in the case of here, we've got a cementitious addition to the veneer. But the base construction is going to meet all the codes necessary for fire and for installation. And we'll have an increased installation variance here, probably of R15 on the outside, R30 in the roofing, to get you cost and high efficiency operations inside the utility. Sometimes we get caught on maybe there's masonry versus brick versus wood. Most times, there's very few buildings that are built with load-bearing masonry at this point in time. Most buildings that have a load-bearing structure that's not wood is going to be the precast concrete. But you can't tell from the outside because they put the veneer of the brick up. So in terms of overall viability, it meets the test. And in terms of lifespan, generally the buildings are comparable in design. Yes, there'll be additional maintenance with the siding or with the cementitious adds to the building, but that's incorporated into the overall maintenance and development of the building over time. Masonry also has its challenges too, in terms of having to be recut and having the masonry the mortar reattached, and you get certain elements that you don't like on flat buildings versus pitch roofs. So type is, we all know that masonry is the best solution, but typically the structures you see outside of high rises now are just a veneer structure. They're not load-bearing brick like our older buildings in the Chicago area.
Thank you very much. That response is extremely satisfactory. I really appreciate your taking the time to go through that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Carl, this is Andy. I was just going to ask with the energy subsidy grant, they have to meet a certain level of energy efficiency. Are they also doing any sort of green building certification?
Most of the construction now meets the minimum standards, but we don't have a designation for this particular building. We're not going after a designation at this time.
Yeah, based on what I've received, it says the project will achieve National Green Building Bronze certification. I don't know if I guess they're bronze, silver, and gold certification levels, but this will be bronze certification.
Yeah, but we're not getting the actual certification, are we? Are we?
I think ComEd has to get it. I think that's a requirement for the grant to ComEd from ComEd.
Thank you, Michelle.
Are there other questions?
Hi, this is Dave Chavis. I was just curious what the experience with Ross as a developer is, if the county, I assume, has experience.
We don't, this is Carl again, we don't have them within our portfolio now, but they've completed a project inside the city of Chicago recently, a mid-level project, and then they have experience coming across the country from the East Coast as far as California. But they're headquartered here and their base is here, and the developer is committed to Cook County. So we're rather confident that they can both address the development and the property management standards that we're looking for.
Okay, and we're not aware of any issues that they've had in other developments that they've done.
No, our background search was maybe minimalistic, but we haven't heard any rumbling. They've done things with Ida, who's also our partner in a lot of our deals, and Ida is happy with them. And then the city, we can check with them if you need us to get more confirmation.
I think if you have time, you certainly don't need to get back to us, but I was just curious of the knowledge level there. So no, but that's good. I think if one of their historic partners is happy with them, that's always good to hear.
I see that Susan Campbell has her hand up. Susan?
Yeah, actually, hi, everyone. My comments were relevant to a few comments ago regarding the construction materials. And as you all know, every year we try to strive to increase the number of affordable housing units throughout the county. And many folks in the construction industry, as well as the development industry, have advocated for use of building materials that are more economical in order to be able to meet their pro forma gaps. And as you can see from the pro forma here, the state as well as the federal government are partners in this deal with the county. And so, this building will need to be constructed based on not only, local county construction standards, but also state and federal. So I just want everyone to understand that. And that is also the case in terms of a review of the development team. You have 3 units of government looking at the full proposition here, not just the building and how it's constructed, but the development teams as well.
Thank you, Ms. Campbell.
Sharon, I don't see any other hands up or questions that you want to
I do have,
move it forward.
This is Will Towns. I do have a question.
Sure, Will.
Thank you, Chairman. Just a quick question on the tax credit equity and everything. Is all of that locked in, given we could be rolling back to a non-start type of construction given COVID and things? Is the financing sort of locked in, or is it still moving, waiting approvals for things?
So, Will, this is Carl again. Go ahead, Michelle. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Carl.
Well, yeah, most of the financing is committed. The tax credit equity, we have an estimate on. We haven't seen a rollback in the tax credit equity during this time. It's already had adjustment about a year ago. So it's still consistent. We haven't had a slowdown in construction. We still have major projects ongoing throughout this whole COVID period. None of our projects have been halted. I guess we're critical work or whatever you want to call that. So we see that this is not a major issue. And Ross, in this terms of this deal, will probably be one of our closest closings when we come to committee. They're scheduled to close in October of this year. So we don't see any major adjustments, either in equity or commitment, or challenges to getting into construction moving toward this project.
Excellent. Thank you.
So Sharon, I have no questions on the board here and no hands up. If you want to move it forward to a vote.
Yep, great, thank you. So with that, could we get a motion? So the committee approved this with no abstentions or recusals. So could we get a motion for the full EDAC to approve the $1.7 million home loan request for Broadview Senior Residences?
This is William, so moved. William Towns.
And a second?
Manny Flores seconds it.
Any abstentions or recusal? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any against? Thank you. And I think we have one more home loan request.
We do, and I just wondering, did we have any abstentions? Okay, go ahead, move it forward.
Right. And this is another home loan request for, I believe it's $695,000 home loan for Mustachi Manor. And Carl or Michelle?
Yes, I'll start. I'm on the first page of the presentation. I'll try to move quickly, in respect of everyone's time. Mustachi Manor is the new ground-up construction of 16 affordable independent rental units for people with physical disabilities. It'll consist of one 3-story wood frame building, again with hardy cement exterior panels. All units will be 1 bedroom with approximately 615 square feet. 5 units will have 50% AMI Cook County home coverage, and the remaining 11 units will be rented to households at 15 to 30% of AMI. So these are for extremely low income households. The total cost to build is $6.75 million or $429,000 per unit. It'll be located on a 3.7 acre site at 5050 Southwick Avenue in Madison, Illinois, which is just about 1/5 of a mile west of Cicero Avenue and close to an on-off ramp for I-57. The project will be located directly next door to an existing affordable development called Southwick Place that was developed by the same sponsor, Over the Rainbow. Over the Rainbow is a developer, property manager, and service divider. They're founded in 1981 and based in Evanston. They currently operate and manage 11 affordable properties with 194 units in the Chicago metropolitan area. So you can see that their properties are small, on less than 200 units in the 11 properties. The general contractor is Skinder Construction, and we have a representative from Skinder Construction on the call. I think his name is Joe Pecoraro, please forgive me if I've gotten your name wrong, Joe, but we do have a representative from the general contractor on the call. And I just want to note that the same general contractor built the project that is directly next door and has experience with the developer. So this would not be a new relationship for them. The architect also has previous experience developing.
Hey, how you be?
Howard, can you actually put your phone on mute? There's a lot of
I think
background noise.
somebody
I can barely hear the
everyone needs
presentation.
to go on mute.
Yeah, I
Please
can
go on
barely
mute.
hear.
Yeah. I think it's the people that are on their phones, not their computers.
Okay. So the $695,000 home loan requested represents 10.3% of the total construction costs. The rest of the sources are composed entirely of a loan from IDA. And the home loan amount represents just over $43,000 per unit. Are there any questions?
Can the individual who you said is on this call introduce themselves, please?
Hello, Joe's raised his hand.
Good morning. This is Joe Pecoraro at Skender. Michelle, nice pull with the last name. You got it first time.
Thanks.
Very, very nice. I'm a project executive with Skender Construction. We've worked with Over the Rainbow for several years. Excited to be a part of the team. Happy to answer any questions that are in my area of expertise.
So this is Sharon, and the committee discussed this, and it's the location and the siting and making sure that, potential development around it would be okay. But in the end, the committee voted to approve this home loan request with, I don't believe there were any, no, there was one abstention, but I didn't know whether anyone had any questions about this particular project. I see Christy has a comment.
Christy, you're recognized.
Hello?
We can hear you, Christy.
Sorry, I just wanted to so that you could hear me because I think we were all put on mute at one point. I did want to say that I had just questioned some of the change in circumstances within the municipality, within the village, and then did have a chance to talk to representatives of Matheson, the village of Matheson, who are very supportive of this project and continue to be supportive. So I had abstained pending more information, but I will be voting to support this project today.
Thank you for that news, Christy. Much appreciated. And I assume we also have the commissioner's support as well.
It's assumed.
My understanding. Yeah, I know that we had heard from Michelle yesterday or earlier this week that there had been numerous letters of support that had been provided to IDA accompanying the application.
Thank you. So if we have, I don't have any additional questions or hands up that I can see. So Sharon, if you'd like to move it forward.
Yeah, and I'll just add one thing that we did talk about in the committee, and it's one of those strange things where we always want to have community support, but from an affordable housing development perspective, there are fair housing concerns, and just ensuring that a lack of community support isn't because of NIMBYism. That's not the circumstance here, but I just wanted to elevate that conversation because it's something that we do talk about on the committee level. And just to inform the full board of that. But with that said, without any other questions or comments, can we get a motion to approve the home loan request for Musashi Manor?
De Laurentiis will move.
And is there a second?
Pam McDonough, second.
Any abstentions or recusals? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, then that passes.
Thank you very much. And Joe, thank you for calling in to this meeting. We appreciate hearing from you. We're going to now move on to a HUD Consolidated Plan report. Andy, I'm going to take it you're leading on this.
I can kick it off, or Sharon can kick it off, and then I think Dom will take over. Or is Drew here today, Dom?
Yeah, and I think I see Drew on there. So
I'm here.
I can do a quick bit about it and then turn it over to Drew. Andy,
take it away.
All right, thanks. Good morning, everyone. This item is related to seeking EDAC approval for the adoption of our HUD consolidated plan. This item is fairly familiar to this group. This is a 5-year planning effort, and as we did in 2015, we combined the required HUD consolidated plan with another required federal planning effort, the Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy. So EDAC had been part of that, the development of this kind of joint planning effort. The SEDS, that second plan, needed to be submitted to the Economic Development Administration earlier this year. So most of the plan was finalized at that time. EDAC approved it, I believe, back in January, and it went into EDA the following month. Since then, we have done a few additional things specifically related to the HUD required content. And I'll let Drew Williams-Clark from CNT, who has helped us with the development of this plan, kind of walk through a quick overview of what the plan is all about for those who are newer to EDAC, and also highlight what has happened since January as we move toward approval and submission to HUD in mid-August. So Drew, if you're available, take it away.
Thanks, Dom. I take it that folks can hear me. Dom actually set up the sort of requirements and the sort of bureaucratic stuff pretty well, so I won't go into that too much. This is the idea of doing the SEDS and the con plan together carries over what was done 5 years ago with Planning for Progress, which served the same dual purposes. The idea here is to try to continue the march toward, enhanced coordination internally at the county level and ensure that the right sort of funding sources go to the best uses in the, best combinations as possible to get the right impacts that we're looking for. I want to emphasize too that this is a combination of grants and other funds that are identified in the plan. The federal grants do need to be used to benefit low and moderate income residents through infrastructure, affordable housing, social services, services that serve folks experiencing homelessness or who may experience homelessness, economic development, and then planning and administration. And those are just the things that those funds can be used for. So if we can go to the next slide, I'm not sure who has control of that. Great. I just want to remind folks that most of the drafting and outreach for this were done before COVID-19 and the civil unrest that has happened and sort of is ongoing around the drive towards racial equity in this country. So there are some things that are sort of noted in terms of oversight in that regard, but we do call that out and we make that pretty clear. The idea here was to leverage the outreach that was done to create the policy roadmap, which is the strategic plan for the offices under the president of the Board of Commissioners, and then also to align it well with the assessment of fair housing. We've talked a lot about these two sort of overarching principles that are carried throughout the plan: racial equity and resilience. Under racial equity specifically, that we're sort of recommending that the county incorporate an overall racial equity framework, and it notes several ongoing efforts that are already in play to do just that, and also sort of begins to recommend some equity indicators for programs and outcomes. The other thing that we'll just sort of keep saying is that there is this sort of noted investment shift from areas of opportunity to areas of need. In this plan's context, that primarily has to do with new affordable housing development, but we're very clear that there should be continued support for HAC and other sister agencies that are dealing with housing through these funds as well, just not necessarily for new development. I did want to just then say that to be more clear about what has been done over the past several months in light of what has been sort of barriers under the COVID-19 restrictions around in-person meetings and things along those lines. Like I said, we did add some content to make sure that we're clear about those sort of limitations because of COVID-19. We did do a lot of coordination with the Assessment of Fair Housing Advisory Committee to make sure that the strategies that were identified at the time of this plan's final drafting were carried over and aligned with recommendations in the plan. We did coordinate with the Home Consortium and seek input from those municipalities and made several tweaks because of the input that they provided. We did sort of an informal, very, very broad public input solicitation through lots and lots of different organizations about a month ago, and received a few great pieces of input from that, which we were able to make tweaks to the plan in incorporating that. And the plan has been posted for public comment for a 30-day public comment period that will end on the 29th. So we still may have some final tweaks to make, but they should not deviate substantially from what folks have had the opportunity to look over now. And those are really the main things that we've done so far. Like Dom said, we're hoping that you'll vote to recommend approval by the Board of Commissioners so that we can submit this plan before it is statutorily required to be submitted in mid-August. So thanks. Happy to answer questions.
Thank you, Drew. It's Howard. I just want to personally thank you for sitting in, and it's always good to see it, especially helping.
Thanks, I appreciate that. And likewise to all of you.
Sharon, do you want to take any questions, or Andy?
Yeah. We just asked, are there any questions?
Yeah, Will Town has a question.
Will, you're recognized.
Thank you. And again, I know a lot of hard work has gone into this, and it looks great. Given that the outreach and the drafting was done before COVID, do you foresee any changes or anything, given some of the announcements the county has made and related to COVID, that either coincides with this plan or somehow will cause adjustments based on that?
Can I take that, Howard? Hi, I can take that. This is Susan.
Susan, go ahead. You're recognized.
Yes. Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you. No, we don't anticipate any major changes because many of the communities that this plan will support and assist are the very communities that have experienced devastation even further as a result of COVID and the civil unrest. So if anything, this plan will help to bolster the initiatives that we've put together to provide immediate relief from COVID and then ongoing recovery, because it will support the construction of what we're trying to create, which is an ecosystem of agencies to assist businesses as well as communities and the individuals that live in those communities. So if it's like a kind of a perfect storm of planning processes all converging at one time. We had the assessment for fair housing, which Drew and Dom spoke about. We have the con plan here, and then we have the planning that has been recently completed for our recovery initiatives, which you'll hear about shortly.
Thank you.
Does that answer your question, Will? Okay.
Yeah, yes, I believe so. And so in some of these communities, they may, in essence, if I'm wrong, get a double sort of hit, I guess, some emergency COVID relief plus this plan coming down that would sort of build upon each other. That's a fair statement?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I would say it's a double hit. It's an ongoing amount of support. So the COVID relief measures are funded with money that the county received from Treasury that has to be spent by December. This plan then talks about the annual grants that we receive from HUD, that we have a much greater length of time in which to spend and to coordinate, so that, you know, hopefully there will not be gaps of support as a result of that.
Thank you.
Hi, this is Sharon. And I would just add that one of the things that I think COVID-19 and the protests have pointed out is that these are long existing issues in some of these communities. And so the HUD Consolidated Plan and all these other efforts that the county is working on will hopefully direct resources to these communities, but also kind of bring to awareness that these issues have been longstanding and that we need to really prioritize addressing them. That's kind of my perspective on some of this planning, and hopefully be able to direct some of these dollars to those communities. But I can't see if anyone else has raised their hand or.
It's Howard. I don't have anybody, and I can tell, you know, from the comments and questions up to this point, that the equity issue and message continues to resonate on everything we touch when it comes to economic development. And I applaud that we continue forward with these kind of consolidated plans that still need, you know, our support and our approvals. So please go ahead.
Okay, so then with that, can we have a motion to approve the 2020-2024 HUD Consolidated Plan?
Move, Grady.
And a second?
This is Erin Alaman, CMFL, second.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? And then anyone who is abstaining or recusing themselves?
This is Amelia Domenko. The WBDC is a beneficiary of some of the funding that comes from this plan, so therefore I think I should abstain.
Okay. Did that get noted?
So noted, Amelia.
Great. Thank you, everyone, and thanks, Drew, and for all of you and your team's hard work on this.
Thanks very much. It's been great. We really appreciate
you.
all the input and the support from this committee.
Our next order of business is the draft of our 2020 action plan and the CDBG and ESG grant. I'm going to ask either Andy or Sharon, our co-chairs of Planning and Development, to usher this in.
Yeah, so this is an annual action plan that actually distributes the funds that the county receives, and I think Dom is going to go over this. Is that correct?
That's right. Thanks, Sharon. Hello again, everyone. So this item fits nicely behind the item we just covered, the consolidated plan, which is, you know, that's the kind of strategic plan for our HUD funding, in particular these annual grants, CDBG, home, and ESG. And then what we actually submit also in mid-August in tandem with the 5-year plan, the consolidated plan, is what's called, you know, the annual action plan. So this gets into the specific details around how we intend to use the HUD funding each year, and in this case for the first year of this new 5-year planning period. So, you know, for those who've been on EDAC, you know, this is a regular activity around this time every year. We bring the acceptance of our new HUD annual entitlement grants. And in the case of CDBG and ESG, for those newer, is the Emergency Solutions Grant, which is a homeless services focused grant. We bring the specific recommendations as well. For the home funding, the affordable housing funding, which you heard, you know, a couple of project examples earlier, Those we aren't specifying at this time. They kind of come through to EDAC, as they come into the county in the course of the year. So typically, what the annual action plan, formally does is tell HUD what we are planning to do for the year. And, in a typical year, and this relates a little bit to, I think the comment Will raised in the prior discussion, we typically do allocate out every dollar of our CDBG funding. Typically, the highest amount of that funding goes into capital improvement projects, with a good sized chunk into social services. And these serve suburban Cook County, as well as some economic development service activities. For this particular year, I think the main difference is that we did decide to go ahead and make recommendations on the CDBG and ESG service funding like normal. But we decided at this moment to hold off on the CDBG capital improvement recommendations to give ourselves some flexibility as we're navigating the COVID-19 response. You'll hear on the next item more about the COVID response activities, and we've kind of taken the position to give ourselves a little more time to see how those activities proceed, how the overall environment proceeds over the next few months in terms of any new actions at the federal level in terms of assistance, and give ourselves some room to use some of our CDBG perhaps to augment or on some different COVID response initiatives. I think in a practical sense, although we typically recommend the capital projects at this point in time, they don't actually start until next spring with the new construction season, because the funding doesn't actually get to us till toward the end of this calendar year from HUD. So while giving ourselves some flexibility, depending kind of what happens over the next few months, it doesn't necessarily delay any of the potential projects. So I think that's the main kind of thing that's different this year in terms of the way we're proceeding. On the social service grants and ESG grants, we have a fairly stable portfolio of recipients year over year. And I'd say the recommended grantees is broadly similar to what we typically fund. I did highlight on the slide a few new grantees hitting areas like housing counseling, services to disabled individuals, legal aid, and some support for the new Southland Development Authority. But I'd say that's the quick overview of where we're at with the annual HUD entitlement grants. And I think I'll stop there and see if there's any questions or discussion.
Thank you, Dom. I don't have any questions up on the screen, nor anyone have their hands up. So.
Oh, and Howard, one thing I forgot to mention, just in the backup that Irene had shared, it did include the full list of recommendations.
And so, Dom, you're going to be asking us to approve this, and
yes, yeah, essentially kind of somewhat similar to the con plan, we're seeking approval from EDAC to go ahead and submit our annual action plan, which is chiefly submitting our recommended uses around these annual entitlement grants.
Thank you. Sharon, if you want to move forward, I have no questions or nudges or anything electronically from the members. Sharon, you may be on mute. I can take the vote. So I need to make sure that we have no additional questions. And noting that there are none, I want to ask for a motion to advance this proposal that's in front of us on the 2020 action plan. Can I have a motion?
So move. This is Teresa.
Thank you, Vanessa. And
Teresa.
second?
That I don't think there's an S on
Oh,
it.
sorry,
That's okay.
sorry. And second?
This is Andy. I'll second.
Oh, sorry, Andy.
Thank you, Andy. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Are there any abstentions?
Amelia Domenko has to abstain.
So noted.
Christy.
Thank you.
Christy DeLaurentis, I'm on the board of the Southland Development Authority, so I believe I should abstain from this as well.
Also noted. Anyone else? It looks like we have a good footprint when we get abstentions like that. We've got great members. Thank you. The motion is carried. Thank you very much, Dom, as always. Soshi.
Sure. Thank you, Howard, and everyone.
Thank you. Soshi, are you on the call?
Good morning, Howard. Can you hear me?
Good morning. Good morning, Soshi. It's going to be you reporting on our COVID relief funds, updating us from the prior report and a discussion. Thank you.
Absolutely. And I will also have some of my team members join in. But good morning, everyone. It's great to be here and be able to update you on our recovery initiatives. I know at the last meeting, the president and I provided an overview of our initial rapid response initiatives and the thought around how we wanted to proceed in developing substantive recovery initiatives to assist both businesses and residents. So I'm very happy to be able to present today and have the team share the information that they have been able to develop and really assess over the last couple of weeks. And really, it's been in coordination with many of you. So I just want to take a minute to thank you guys for joining us, working alongside our teams over the last few weeks to assess how the county can best leverage our funding to most impactfully meet the needs of residents and businesses during this time. We realize that it's a very difficult time and no amount of funding will be able to assist and address all the need that is currently out there. So our key objective was to partner with organizations or entities that could quickly leverage the funding and opportunity that is put forth before us right now through the CARES CRF funding. So we know that the county itself would not be in a position to quickly turn around the funding and develop a robust program specifically under our office. So we've been spending quite a bit of time talking to our partners and our stakeholders to assess how can we best partner with them to develop and address these needs. So as I reported last time, we've had two working groups, one focus on business recovery and the second focus on community recovery. The initiatives that have been developed and will be described today are very robust. It really puts the Bureau of Economic Development in a whole different path forward because I think there is a huge need at this time. So the team, because they're such public servants and really wanted to figure out how we can make an impact during this time, they really came together to figure out how to best utilize this funding. So today you'll be hearing from Irene, who will be talking about our business recovery initiatives, and then both Carl and Dominic will discuss our community recovery initiatives. Irene, can you move to the next slide? I will note that these initiatives constitute $82 million of CRF funding. When the county received its allocation of CRF funding at, I think it's like 420 million or so, we knew that we wanted to equitably distribute that funding across those communities that needed it the most. At the last board meeting, Amar and myself presented to the board how these funds would be equitably distributed. And thanks to partnership with CMAP, They really helped the county develop a robust model to equitably distribute it. And I know that there have been quite a few news articles written about the robust methodology that has been used. So if you have not seen it, I'll ask Irene to send it to everyone, but I want to thank CMAP for really partnering with us to develop this robust model. As you can see from this chart, much of our funding is going to cover residents' needs with regards to rental assistance, mortgage assistance, and a robust program that looks at critical social service needs. As I said, this team has been partnering with many entities to really drill down on data and assess how to best meet those needs. So working with many of you to assess evictions that are coming down the pipeline, rental assistance that's needed. It's very robust, so I'm going to let them speak to that. But much of our funding is going to assist residents during this time. The funding that's allocated to business recovery, I do want to note that it's being leveraged with philanthropy and hopefully the private sector. We're also partnering with the Workforce Partnership. All of these partnerships are key to getting this funding out. I think Susan had mentioned how we have a very tight deadline. The CRF funding currently, as it has been provided to the county, must be expended before the end of the year. So it is a very short turnaround time, but we're hopeful that there will be other rounds of funding that will come down the pipeline and that we could just augment into these programs. So that's the key in developing these programs. We wanted them to be robust enough so that when additional funding is identified, we can continue to implement and provide these services. So with that, I think I'm going to turn it over to Irene to talk about our small business recovery initiatives.
Hello, everybody. Hello. So I'm going to talk about, as Sochi said, the small business initiatives, which fall into roughly 3 buckets. One is small business, another one are some workforce initiatives, and then we've also allocated some funding directly to manufacturing support. So I think many of you are aware, particularly because of the work that we've already done with the Small Business Community Loan Fund, that the needs of small businesses are acute, and small businesses, know that life is full of lots of unexpected happenings, but very few were prepared for something like COVID. So as a result, we've all seen, and you see in your daily lives, that many businesses are closed. The University of Chicago Urban Poverty Lab recently did a study of about 1,000 small businesses in the state of Illinois, and 30% of them responded that they had missed a rent payment, and another 36% expected to miss another one soon. We've also seen in the media that minority-owned businesses are particularly hard hit. And lastly, the University of Chicago Urban Poverty Lab survey plus others have also indicated that business owners tend to either feel they need assistance navigating the myriad of federal resources that are out there. There's fear that they won't be eligible. All of that underscoring the need for technical assistance. So what we are doing in this situation is we are partnering with the Chicago Community Trust and joining a coalition of businesses.
Once I receive a son. Oh, I'm sorry.
We're joining a coalition of business service organizations that have been working together for a while, in general, looking at the needs of small and minority-owned businesses around the city. We are joining that and extending the focus to include suburban Cook County, and will be providing creating a grant fund of approximately $12 million for small grants directly to small businesses There will be a technical assistance network, and any business that receives a grant will be paired with a technical assistance provider. There are three main primary business service organizations in this network, which are the Chicago Urban League, the Illinois Hispanic Chamber, and Women's Business Development Center. Women's Business Development Center will be administering the grant program as well. And then in addition, this is creating an opportunity for us to try to build a more robust suburban network. And we extended a call, so to speak, an invitation for smaller chambers of commerce to express an interest in participating. Last week, we've gotten about 26 responses from largely suburban groups, and they are being evaluated by the business service organizations in the network. And we anticipate being able to support about 10 more groups. There are, within the 26, there are a few that are not eligible. So more people will be able to receive funding than it may sound on first blush. So that's what this program is. I'm going to go on, and at the end of all of the presentations, we'll have time for questions. Another area we obviously want to focus on is workforce. Unemployment in Cook County is 16% approximately. Prior to COVID, unemployment in Cook County was maybe 4%, with some communities in the south suburbs having maybe as high as 7%. So this is a significant increase. And women, particularly Black and Latinx, have been also most affected by the job losses based on the nature of the businesses, the sectors that have been hardest hit. So we are partnering with the Chicago Cook Workforce Partnership to amplify and strengthen their existing delegate agencies that serve the suburbs. And we're doing that through a couple of different strategies. One, the bulk of the $4 million will go to support training vouchers, individual training vouchers. That is a voucher program that an individual can use to seek additional training. They don't have to lay out cash. It is all reimbursed through a third-party system, and this is a program that the partnership has in operation already. There'll be additional funds going to the American Job Centers that are in the suburbs and additional funds for the community colleges. That's Triton, Prairie State, and South Suburban community colleges. And in both cases, the funds there will support hiring additional staff to meet the increased demand that they've experienced as a result of all the dislocated workers. And then lastly, there are some funds allocated to prototype a rapid response layoff aversion program with Manufacturing Renaissance, looking based on some of the best practices around the country in Pennsylvania that will help be more proactive, and particularly in this case, looking for businesses, manufacturers that because of COVID are inclined to consider closing, because this really accentuates some of the succession planning issues that businesses may have had on their horizon, but with COVID, they may have thought, it may not be worth continuing to operate. And then lastly, for manufacturing, we're committing $500,000 to the Illinois Manufacturing Excellence Center, which is the federally designated manufacturing extension partnership organization for the state of Illinois. And what we're doing with them is really doing almost a manufacturing census. They will reach out to 5,800 manufacturers with the intent of connecting with 1,000. They have a survey that identifies urgent and pressing needs. Any manufacturer that identifies the need within 48 hours will be connected with an IMEC specialist who will connect them with support services that they might need. It may be related to workforce, it may be related to identifying new suppliers. And at the end of this, there'll be a lot of data, excellent contact information from the manufacturers that IMEC will put into a report that will also give the county recommendations on how to continue to assist manufacturers in the ongoing COVID environment. So that is briefly the small business initiatives, and I'll turn it over now to Don, who's going to discuss the social service initiatives.
Thanks, Irene. Yeah, on the resident side of our work, the overarching issue is that the incomes of residents are being squeezed, particularly in communities of color. As you heard Irene mention, unemployment is around 16%, and as a comparative point, it peaked at 12% during the Great Recession. And the income losses are driving a range of issues for our residents. Issues with meeting their housing payments, and Carl will shortly tell you a bit more about our rent and mortgage assistance efforts. We're seeing a huge increase in food insecurity. It's tripled among households with children, and food pantry visits are up 126% since January. And then just difficulty making ends meet more generally. And we're seeing a 56% increase in residents seeking utility assistance as one example. In the suburban homeless system, they've had to pivot their model, which pre-COVID was largely a church-based rotating shelter model. And they moved to a primarily hotel-based sheltering strategy to keep individuals safe and healthy. And while they've been successful and have provided 66,000 shelter nights and nearly 200,000 meals since the crisis began, it is a much more costly model. So our solutions have been crafted to keep people housed and provide residents with the services and financial assistance they need to address the challenges they're facing. And they're focused on the three areas kind of in the middle of the slide there. Homeless sheltering, legal aid, housing counseling, and foreclosure mediation, which kind of as a group we're calling housing stability services, which we think are critical because the new housing assistance, like the county programs you'll hear about shortly, also programs that IDA is doing and other housing resources, those are great, but they're not going to be able to hit all the need that's out there. So having access to services for folks dealing with eviction and foreclosure issues is going to be critical. And then lastly, food, utility, and direct financial assistance. And I'll talk a little bit more about each of these. On the homeless side, I talked about the increased needs that the system is facing, and we want to help, at its core, we want to help the agencies meet these shelter costs they've incurred to date, as well as what they project to face over the coming months. County's also been helping them access FEMA public assistance funding as much as possible to cover their sheltering costs. In that housing stability services area, knowing that more than 90% of renters that are facing eviction do not have legal representation, we're increasing the available legal aid services for Suburban Cook. The county has existing relationships with most of the HUD certified housing counseling agencies that serve Suburban Cook County, and will be providing additional funding to those agencies. And we're also looking at how best to support the foreclosure mediation program within the county court system. On the utility assistance side, we're partnering with CETA, who operates existing programs that provide gas, electric, phone, and water assistance to residents, and will infuse funding into their programs to serve more Suburban Cook residents and try to meet that increased demand. In the food assistance realm, we've been working closely with the Greater Chicago Food Depository, and we'll be supporting additional healthy food, as well as the operating and staffing costs for both existing sites that are trying to meet the increased demand, as well as setting up some new distribution sites with a focus on areas that are lacking sites in access to food, as well as in communities of color. And lastly, we're working with an entity called the Family Independence Initiative. They've been around about 20 years in doing a direct financial assistance model. They've been doing that in Chicago for a while, But during COVID, they've expanded that into the south suburbs. They launched a direct financial assistance fund in the south suburbs, and saw that kind of taken up in less than a week. And we're excited to work with them to expand the direct financial assistance model more broadly into suburban Cook to reach more households in need. And with that, I'll turn it over to Carl to talk a bit more about the rent and mortgage programs.
Hold on, I'm trying to advance and I'm in a little trouble here. Wait, let's try. Oh, why am I?
Carl, do you have your slide in front of you?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm frozen. This happened to me once before.
Carl, if you want to start without the slide up, as long as you have your notes.
Here, wait, let's see if I can do this. Carl, are you able to jump in and just talk through your programs without the one slide?
Yeah, I can. I apologize. I was on mute. I was talking.
Yeah, I'm sorry, everybody.
No, we're fine. We're fine.
Okay.
We're fine. I was on mute, so I was talking, thinking I was, giving information. Here we go. Housing, our
Please
critical
go ahead.
need. Housing, our critical need is to keep people housed during this crisis. As we see surveys come back from individuals about what their critical needs are, housing security comes out at the top of the list, and as Don mentioned, food security comes out at the top of the list too. So this is one of our critical needs. Two components are really affecting us now. Eviction moratoriums are coming to an end at the end of this month, and increased unemployment benefits are expiring at the end of this month. We've seen some level of delinquency through the whole period, but we expect that there may be increases as these two issues expire. So we have two programs that are coming out that will affect the issues that we're facing. The first is the rental assistance program. It'll be a $20 million assistance program targeting families under $72,000 of household income. The goal is to provide 3 months of assistance to families that have rent in arrears. The program will pay directly to the landlord, and the program will allow families to become current. Our goal here is to try to reach as many families as we can with the funding that we have approved. There are ancillary programs at the state, and the city has the coverage for the remainder of the county that sort of complements us. We talk to them and understand where we fit in sort of this ecosystem of governmental funding, and we're trying to just give us a critical gap of affordability. Our equity considerations will go toward what we're describing as COVID disproportionately impacted areas as determined by the state DECO. So that will give us an independent third party that can tell us where those areas are. Affected in those areas is COVID-related illnesses, COVID-related deaths, and other factors on economic data that's historic. So that would be our equity consideration there. The second program we're looking at is, and I don't know if you brought it up, but the second program we're looking at is the mortgage assistance program. Comparable to the rental program, we're going to do it at 80% of area median income, 3 months of assistance, and we're trying to look at families that really have been affected by COVID layoffs, et cetera. If you look at the suburban household, approximately 50% of the households have parties that work in COVID-affected industries: entertainment, hospitality, retail. Those are the jobs that were highly affected, and those are the residents that we have in the suburb. The goal is to try to administer the program and get it out quickly. We've chosen one partner. That would be the Housing Authority of Cook County. They have the ability to take in the volume of applications and can increase staffing and capacity to deal with the applications and get the funding out the door. Mr. Chairman, I'm looking for questions if there are any.
Well, thank you, everyone. Soshi, Irene, Dom, Carl, amazing that all of this has been happening while this work that needs to have all this kind of planning. I am so proud that the team at the Bureau is doing this. I have a quick comment, and I just wanted to make sure this is a very innovative approach in terms of the allocation of funds, and it's hard at this time to take limited money and to pay attention to all of these needs that the team has just put before us. One of the things that I have been very consumed by is during the recovery phase and our planning for economic development, it may be in the absence of immunization and vaccine that we have the need for contact tracing as a public health, yes, but also as an economic development need. I think that we have to basically go forward and look to how we work within all of those constraints, as we need more security and surety around where there are spots that need to be attended to, because without confidence in the health of the public, confidence in our economic recovery can be difficult. And to that extent, I'm done. That's my comments. I know that we have some questions here, and certainly, if we have anyone who needs, I understand. Christy, you have a question? Carl?
This is Amelia. I have a comment after the questions are asked.
Thank you, Amelia. Christy, are you able to go off mute? Amelia?
I want
Go ahead.
to echo Howard's comments just again, complimenting everyone for this robust program. It's very impressive. Specifically, Carl, I had a question about the rental and mortgage assistance. How is that information going to be disseminated to individual households? And how can we help?
Oh, okay, great. Two things. One is that we've got a communications plan that we're putting together now. It will reach out to as many people as we can on as many platforms as we can. I can't give you the total specifics, but we do have contact lists that will send the information. You'll definitely be added. The experience we had on the business side of this, which is the business loans, is that the communication outreach strategy reached as far down as the Uber driver and as far up as the manufacturing company's owner. So we're going to try to go along that same vein, and then add on our housing, advocates and our social service agencies to get as many people out as possible. Of course, we'll have it on the website. We may have some level of Facebook Live or other comments that we can try to, reach more people.
Okay, thank you.
We're coming up on the 9:30, but I can basically ask for just a motion to adjourn, but let's continue talking and let's stay on the line. So for those of you who have to hop off, please, we understand. And I just want to get a motion to adjourn. We'll adjourn now at the 9:30 hour, and then we will stay on the line for additional questions for the Bureau and any other issues. I need a motion to adjourn.
Howard, it's Graham. I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Graham.
Pam, second.
Pam, thank you. All in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very
Great
much.
meeting today, everybody. Really good meeting.
So for those of you who have to leave, thank you for that. For those who can stay, please stay on the call. Let's continue. We are adjourned. The motion carries.
So, Mr. Chairman, just one more question to Christy. So, what we had said earlier, we've got a communications person on board, Dooney. I don't know if she's online, but so she's brought in
I'm here.
Oh, this is brought in a communications team that leads this effort, and they're specialists in what they do. So it's not just me trying to figure it out. We really got this group that really puts us in play on many different platforms. And if you want more from that, Junie's here. Okay.
Hello, everybody. So what we will likely do when we first started our recovery efforts, we gathered a list of individuals who were just interested in keeping up to date on the activities we have going on. And so that list has grown to a little more than 8,600 people since the onset of the pandemic. So we've been really shifting gears to adapt to the virtual space that a lot of us have to dwell in these days. So our outreach method is newsletters, announcements, and we will explore, especially for this type of initiative, things like targeted Facebook ads or social media campaigns that will hit the direct circuit of individuals we want. If any of you are familiar, there are ways you can target business owners or manufacturers and whatnot, because the data is aggregated in such a way where we can make targeted ad buys that are about $50. But other than that, we are going to continue to rely on interfacing with our advisory committee members. We're going to continue to communicate with our commissioners and rely on our community-based organizations to spread the word throughout our network, because we have a really strong network of individuals who have helped us get the word out to date, as well as relying and working with the Office of the President on their various channels, both media and community-based. So we have a variety of partners that will cast the net to make sure people know that things are happening, and most importantly, to make sure we're in the right spaces so that people can see the information and get attached to these resources. But I must say, when we've launched, for example, our Community Recovery Fund, we had thousands of people who were responsive to our initiative. So we feel pretty confident that we have a structure in place that will continue to grow our efforts and our network so that our communication can penetrate through the various municipalities that need to get connected to our services. And we will work in coordination with our teams to make sure that people are clear on what we're offering and have a nice understanding of the requirements and all of the things that tie into that overall arching framework. So that continues to be a priority for us. And as you see on this slide, for info@cookcounty.gov, you can send information here. You can go to our recovery page and sign up for our newsletters as well, and direct those through your network. And the
Thank you
website.
very much. Oh,
Oh,
sorry.
go ahead.
It's
okay.
It's hard. You're off screen. I wanted to make sure I recognize Amelia, who's been patiently, I think, has a comment. Is that right, Amelia?
Yes, I want to make a comment, and I'm sorry this can't be captured in the minutes. The comment I want to make is there was a level of complexity that the county had to go through that I don't think was elevated that was brought to everyone's attention. The county, this team not only had to develop these wonderful programs, but what they did very patiently is that they looked at, there's a lot of CARES money being funneled at the city level and at the state level. And what the county did was what this team did was they looked to see where the gaps were for Cook County residents, and they looked to see how they could fill those gaps. So while initially there was a big inflow of loan money, some of the businesses in the county could not service additional debt under any conditions. And the county's program of technical assistance and grants, that was on the table early on because they realized that it was not available through other programs. Now, since then, the state and the city have funded grant programs, but What the county really spent a lot of time doing is trying to figure out who was being left out. So I think they should be, that level of analysis outside of the county was really not emphasized, and I think the county needs to get credit for that.
Amelia, I would like you to put that in writing, and we will include that in the minutes. If you could just give a brief email to Irene, I will absolutely make sure that that is included as part of the minutes.
Okay.
And I absolutely second everything you're saying. This is an incredibly innovative program on equity. It's a model for, I think, other places.
And thank you, Amelia. I would like to add, this is Susan. It would be great to have you come to the county board meeting at the end of the month and echo those same comments so our commissioners can really understand the true nature of our approach. Thanks so much.
Just thank you, Susan. I will.
Are there any other comments or questions among ourselves? Well, with that, I want to wish everyone continued health, good health, and thank the members who remained on the line past the meeting time. This is an extraordinary meeting when it comes to looking at the breadth of coverage that the Bureau has put forth and will continue, I think, in terms of actions. We look forward, Sochi, to more reports. This cannot be the end of the story.
This is just the beginning, Howard.
I hear you.
Actively engaged in this work going forward, so thank you in advance.
Thank you to the team at the Bureau. I want to thank all of the members who are on. Is anyone trying to talk, or is that just someone off mute? Thank you, everyone, for staying the extra few minutes. This was worth it. Amelia, please put it. It will be entered into the record. And I hope you do go to the county meeting to bring this to the commissioner's attention. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great day and stay well.
Thanks, Howard. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Howard. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everyone. Thank you, everyone. My
Bye-bye.
pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you.